What I'm about to tell you about Reese Witherspoon was never meant to be public. How did a Southern actress become one of Hollywood's most powerful women? The transformation from America's sweetheart to billion-dollar media mogul wasn't just talent and hard work. Between you and me, there's a side to Reese's rise that Hollywood executives have desperately tried to keep hidden for decades. My industry sources have revealed a pattern of strategic moves so calculated, so brilliant, that it changes everything you thought you knew about this innocent Southern belle. The truth about Reese Witherspoon is finally being exposed, and after today, you'll never look at her the same way again. Let me take you back to the beginning. Before the Oscars, before the production company, before she became the shrewd businesswoman who outplayed the entire Hollywood system. Reese Witherspoon wasn't born into Hollywood royalty like many of her peers. What the tabloids don't know is that her early life in Nashville, Tennessee, wasn't as picture-perfect as she's led everyone to believe. According to someone who grew up with her, Reese demonstrated an almost unsettling ambition from childhood. While other kids played, she was already planning her escape from the South, viewing acting not just as a passion but as her ticket out. At just 14 years old, Reese attended an open casting call for The Man in the Moon. But here's what they've been hiding. She wasn't even supposed to be there. My sources confirm she was actually accompanying a friend, but decided to audition herself on a whim. Studio executives were so taken aback by her natural talent and determination that they cast her instead of the hundreds of trained child actors who had been preparing for months. This wasn't just luck. It was the first sign of her uncanny ability to seize opportunities that weren't meant for her. But that early success came with a price almost nobody knows about. Between takes on that first film, a 14-year-old Reese was already studying the business side of Hollywood, questioning crew members about budgets, marketing strategies, and distribution deals. The director later confided to my source that he'd never seen such calculated ambition in someone so young. It was almost unnerving, he reportedly said, like she was cataloging everything for future use. The real turning point, the moment that would set her on a collision course with Hollywood's power structure, came during her early 20s. While everyone focuses on her breakout roles, they miss what was happening behind the scenes. 3 high-level executives who worked with Reese during this period told me she was quietly mapping out every connection, every contract, every deal structure she encountered. They don't want this getting out, but she was essentially creating a blueprint of the system that would later allow her to dismantle and rebuild it to her advantage. Let me tell you something even industry insiders don't fully understand. Legally Blonde wasn't just a career-making role for Reese, it was the perfect smokescreen. While audiences and critics were distracted by her bubbly portrayal of Elle Woods, Reese was making moves behind the scenes that would shock you. My Hollywood source revealed to me that during filming, she was already planning her production company, studying the contracts of major producers, and identifying gaps in the market that nobody else had noticed. But that's nothing compared to what happened next. The truth about her Oscar win for Walk the Line has been carefully buried for years. Yes, her performance was brilliant, but what the Academy doesn't want you to know is that Reese orchestrated one of the most strategic campaign pushes in Oscar history. A former Academy member told me that Reese didn't just charm voters. She systematically analyzed previous winners' campaigns, identified key voting blocks, and targeted them with military precision. It wasn't just about the performance, my source whispered. It was a masterclass in Hollywood politics that left even veteran campaigners in awe. Between you and me, that Oscar wasn't just recognition, it was currency. And Reese knew exactly how to spend it. While other actresses would ride the post-Oscar wave with higher salaries and more prestigious roles, Reese did something unprecedented. She began quietly acquiring the rights to books before they even became bestsellers, often outmaneuvering major studios who never saw her coming. How did she know which books to choose? I've learned she developed a network of literary scouts who would alert her to promising manuscripts before publishers even finished bidding on them. The industry elite tried to dismiss her as just another actress playing producer, but behind closed doors, they were terrified. Because unlike vanity production companies started by other stars, Reese was building something far more dangerous, a genuine rival to the established system. My sources inside major studios confirm there were actual emergency meetings called to discuss the Witherspoon situation, as she began acquiring properties that studios had their eyes on. What they've been hiding from the public is just how much resistance she faced. A high-level studio executive admitted to me that there was an actual coordinated effort to freeze her out. We didn't take her seriously at first, they told me, and by the time we realized what she was building, it was too late to stop her. This same source revealed that certain projects were greenlit specifically to compete with Reese's acquisitions, a level of defensive programming previously unheard of against an actress-turned producer. The founding of Hello Sunshine wasn't just a business move, it was a declaration of war. And the timing was no coincidence. My industry source revealed to me that Reese launched her media company precisely when several major studios were vulnerable during corporate restructuring. She identified a moment of weakness in the system and exploited it with stunning precision. The $900 million valuation that followed wasn't luck or hype. It was the result of a decade-long chess game that most of Hollywood didn't even realize they were playing. But the most shocking revelation about Reese's rise to power involves what happened during what the public perceived as a career lull. Between 2008 and 2011, many thought her star was fading. The tabloids focused on her personal life, missing entirely what was actually happening. During this exact period, Reese was methodically meeting with tech investors, studying streaming platforms before most of Hollywood took them seriously, and building relationships that would later give her leverage against traditional studios. 3 separate Silicon Valley sources confirmed to me that Reese was discussing the future of content distribution years before Netflix even began producing original programming. They don't want this getting out, but Reese's infamous, "What, like it's hard?" line from Legally Blonde has apparently become something of a private joke among Hollywood power players, because it's essentially the attitude she brought to dismantling the entire male-dominated production system. A female executive who witnessed Reese in high-level negotiations told me, she walks into rooms where men have been making the rules for decades, identifies everything wrong with their model, and then explains how she's going to do it better. And the terrifying part is, she does. The truth finally exposed about Big Little Lies reveals just how calculated her moves have been. My HBO source confirmed what many suspected. Reese didn't just star in the series. She orchestrated the entire project from the ground up as a proof of concept for her business model. She identified a book with a passionate female readership, recruited A-list actresses who were being underutilized by the studio system, and created a bidding war between networks desperate for prestige content. The limited series format, that's now revolutionizing television. Reese was pioneering it, while others were still clinging to the traditional TV model. Between you and me, the real genius of Reese's strategy has been her public persona. While building one of the most formidable media companies in Hollywood, she's maintained her image as the approachable Southern girl next door. This carefully crafted identity has allowed her to move through both Hollywood and the business world without triggering the defenses that typically activate against obvious power players. She's disarming, a former colleague told me. You think you're dealing with Elle Woods, and suddenly you realize you're actually facing a business tactician with the strategic mind of a general. But that's nothing compared to what happened when she set her sights on the streaming wars. The $900 million sale of Hello Sunshine wasn't just a business transaction. It was the culmination of a plan set in motion years earlier. What nobody has reported until now is that Reese had been preparing for this exact outcome since at least 2015. My source, who was involved in the negotiations, revealed that Reese had identified a specific market window when traditional media companies would be desperate for content libraries to compete with streaming giants. She deliberately positioned Hello Sunshine to be exactly what these companies would need, precisely when they would need it most. The aftermath of that deal reveals something even more stunning. While most assumed Reese would take her profits and step back, industry insiders know she's actually accelerated her plans. The sale wasn't the end game, my source confided. It was just phase one. I've learned that Reese is now implementing a strategy to expand beyond film and television into multiple media channels, creating an interconnected content ecosystem that could potentially rival much larger, established companies. What the tabloids don't know is that Reese's book club isn't just a celebrity hobby or marketing tool. It's a sophisticated data-gathering operation. A former employee revealed to me that the book club allows Reese to essentially test market concepts before investing in production, giving her company an almost unfair advantage in identifying which properties will resonate with audiences. She knows what will work before spending $1 on production, my source explained. It's like having a crystal ball while everyone else is guessing. The truth about her relationships with other powerful women in Hollywood has been carefully managed for public consumption. Behind the scenes, it's much more complex. While Reese publicly champions female collaboration, my sources indicate she's incredibly selective about her actual business partners, approaching these relationships with the same strategic calculation she brings to everything else. The friendships are real, an insider told me, but never mistake them for anything other than carefully considered alliances. Between you and me, Reese's next moves are what really have Hollywood executives losing sleep. I've learned from 3 separate sources that she's currently developing technology platforms that would potentially allow her to bypass traditional distribution channels entirely. She's not just building a production company, one tech investor told me. She's creating a direct channel to consumers that could make certain aspects of the studio system obsolete. They don't want this getting out, but major studios have actually begun changing their business practices specifically in response to Reese's model. My source at one of the Big 5 studios confirmed they've completely revamped how they approach female-led projects after losing multiple bidding wars to Reese's company. It's not just about competing with her for specific properties anymore, they admitted. We're having to rethink our entire approach because she's exposed how badly we've been underserving major audience segments. What I'm about to tell you explains everything about why Reese has succeeded where so many other actress producers have failed. she never saw herself as an actress building a production company. From day one, she saw herself as a media executive who happened to have acting as her entry point. This fundamental difference in perspective allowed her to make decisions that seemed baffling to her peers, but made perfect sense in her larger strategy. She was playing a completely different game than everyone thought, a former colleague told me. While they were playing checkers, she was playing three-dimensional chess, the most closely guarded secret about Reese's rise is that she's been meticulously documenting everything. Multiple sources have confirmed to me that Reese has kept detailed records of every obstacle, every dismissal, every underestimation she's faced as a woman in Hollywood. Not out of bitterness, but as a blueprint for the systemic changes she's now positioned to implement. It's like she was gathering evidence for a case she always planned to bring against the entire system, one insider explained. And now she's not just presenting that case, she's essentially becoming the judge and jury. Now that you know the truth about Reese Witherspoon's transformation from Southern Belle to media mogul, here's what happens next. Industry analysts who have spoken to me off the record believe we're only seeing the beginning of Reese's influence. The structures she's building now are designed to position her company at the center of multiple entertainment revolutions simultaneously. While most media coverage focuses on individual projects, they're missing the larger architecture being constructed. My sources indicate that within the next 5 years, Reese isn't just aiming to produce content, she's positioning to control entire distribution channels, potentially bypassing the traditional gatekeepers completely. The studios still think they're competing with her for projects, one insider revealed. They don't realize she's actually building an alternative to their entire system, between you and me. The Reese Witherspoon story isn't just about one woman's rise to power. It's about the complete reimagining of an industry that has resisted change for over a century. And while Hollywood focuses on protecting their traditional models, Reese is quietly building the framework that may eventually replace them. But here's the question nobody's asking yet. If Reese Witherspoon could transform herself from a teenage actress to a media mogul capable of challenging entire entertainment conglomerates, what exactly is she planning to do with that power now that she has it? My sources suggest her ambitions extend far beyond what anyone has publicly speculated. And from what I've learned about her long-term strategy, Hollywood hasn't seen anything yet. Subscribe now, because in our next video, I'll reveal the secret alliance Reese has reportedly formed with 2 other major female power players. An alliance that my sources say could fundamentally reshape who controls the entertainment industry for the next generation. The details I've uncovered about this coalition are so sensitive that several insiders refuse to speak on record, even anonymously. But what I've managed to verify will change everything you thought you knew about power in Hollywood. Estimated duration: 9.7 minutes.